to Pica Poco Kitchen. Today we're making alegrías. Vámonos! It is believed that a long time ago, missionaries in Xochimilco found out something that indigenous people knew for years. And that is that when you expose the seeds of amaranth to heat, they jump of joy, pop, and become a delicious treat. Amaranth has many uses and benefits, but definitely the most iconic representation of amaranth is in the shape of an alegría. You can find alegrías everywhere in Mexico, in parks, in gift shops, in the store, in the supermarket, because it's definitely one of our most beloved desserts, and it goes way back to the pre-Hispanic times. From its name in Nahuatl, huautli, which means tiny life-giving particle, that should tell you that if Mother Nature had a healthy food store, Alegrías would be there, and those would be her protein bars. But Alegrías are not just nutritious, they are also very easy to make. So let's make some. Let's talk ingredients. I have here 125 grams of popped amaranth. This is from my favorite Etsy store, which is Son Oaxaca, where I get the packet, and this is half of the bag. Go check them out. To bind the amaranth, we're gonna make a syrup, and for that I'm gonna use 1/4 of a cup of honey, which is 83 grams. Mine is crystallized, but I don't care about that because I'm gonna take it to the stove. And another important ingredient to bind my amaranth is piloncillo or panela, or known by its most hilarious name, chiancaca. In Nahuatl, that means brown or dark sugar. Panela or piloncillo is raw sugar. It's the rawest way you can find sugar, and it is made following 3 steps only. The cane juice is extracted, then boil until the liquids evaporate and you get only the solids, and those solids are then molded in different shapes to be sold to the public. So normally I will tell you that you can substitute this for brown sugar, but not in this case. If you want your alegrías to have the actual taste, the traditional and authentic taste, go for panela or piloncillo, which you can easily find in your international stores or even on the internet. And for my this amount of amaranth, I am going for 60 grams of piloncillo. To this syrup, I'm going to add just a few drops of lime juice. The acidity is gonna brighten it up, and also lime and honey go perfectly well together. When we were children and we had an itchy throat, that was the cure. Just a spoonful of honey with a few drops of lime. I would sometimes do that just as a snack. On the nut size of the alegrías, the traditional alegrías you're gonna find are gonna have peanuts, pecans, and sunflower seeds. I didn't buy sunflower seeds because I don't use them as often, so it was a waste to buy the whole bag. But I found this mix of almonds, pecans, and pistachios, which I think they're gonna do. I'm also gonna use some Virginia peanuts, of course. And the thing with this is that there's not a specific amount. It's gonna be up to you which nuts, or it can go nutless. Whatever amount you want to use. Some people like to mix it into the amaranth, and some other people like to just press it on the top, more for a decorational purpose. And that's what I'm gonna do. Another ingredient that you will traditionally find in amaranth is raisins. But raisins have no room in my home because I hate them. They're my enemies and they suck. But I do have space for craisins. Craisins are my friends, and that's what I'm gonna use. So, like I said, whatever extra ingredient you want to add, nuts and dry fruits, is up to you. You can adjust to whatever you whatever your preference is. And if you want to skip that, that's perfectly fine because the amaranth itself is just delicious. And cooking wise, we're just gonna do one stuff, and that would be create our syrup. So I'm gonna mix my honey and my piloncillo, put it in the stove, low heat until everything melts, combines, and gets this nice and toasty flavor. I think I've told you before, but one of the most dangerous burns in the kitchen is always when you're working with sugar. So be extremely careful when you're doing that. Make sure that your fur babies and your skin babies are at a safe distance, and use sturdy utensils. I like to use this kind of silicone spatulas that don't come off, just to have a steady stir. So let me make my syrup and I'll be back. Here I have my syrup. I let it sit like a couple of minutes to cool down. I forgot to tell you, if you want to speed up the process for the piloncillo, you may grate it or chop it into smaller pieces, and that way it's gonna be faster. As well, if you think your syrup is too thick, you can add 1 or 2 tablespoons of water. Depending on the amount that you're doing, you can go up to 1/4 cup. But for this amount, just 1 tablespoon of water did. So I'm gonna transfer the amaranth into a bigger bowl. And now let's add the syrup. And there's something peculiar about amaranth. When you add the syrup, it looks like it's not gonna be enough, but as you mix it, it starts spreading among the little amaranth seeds. And it is quite interesting because it's not like flour or any other, I guess, grain. When you add the liquid, it immediately goes all over the place. Amaranth takes its time to absorb the liquid, and this happens as well when you add chocolate. You are always doubtful if that was enough liquid, but it is, which is, I think I find it very interesting. Look, this is how my amaranth with the syrup looks like. It looks like it's completely dry, but you can see that it starts taking some shape. Some pieces are stuck together. And that's gonna be just good enough because we don't want to over soak the amaranth, otherwise it's gonna harden. So to shape it, I'm gonna be using my baking sheet with my silicone mat. Because of the amount that I'm using, I'm only gonna be probably filling half of it. So I'm gonna be folding and using the mat to manage and handle, that would be a better word, to handle the amaranth on my sheet. But let me show you up close. The only downfall of the amaranth being so small is that it is difficult to get it all out, especially when you're doing something sticky like honey. I guess I'm gonna have to lick the bowl. No, just kidding. Probably won't do that. Or maybe I will. I don't know. At this point, it cools down really fast once it's in contact with the amaranth, I have to say, but better be safe than sorry. So now with my hands, I'm gonna press down to make sure that every amaranth is stick together. Look at that, it's already looking great. There we go, that's nicer than I thought. Oh, wow, cool. If you're adding peanuts or pecans or something else and they are not salty, you can sprinkle some salt on your amaranth or mix it with it. In this case, my peanuts are salty, so I'm not gonna add any extra salt, but also you can if you want to. That you don't have to be that careful. I mean, it's up to you. I don't want to waste a lot of time because I don't want it to start hardening and then they're not gonna stick to it. I was thinking that I'm just gonna do pecans because I am starting to believe that I might be slightly allergic to almonds. Every time I eat almonds, I get some tickling in my throat. Nothing terrible, but just a little bit. So I think I'm gonna leave those out. I'm gonna add some pistachios because I love how pistachios look in stuff. Love the color. Okay, so now let's try to press them down. The other benefit of using the mat is that you won't get all the amaranth stuck to your hands. I think it looks pretty nice. So now I just need to let it sit to dry off and get a little bit harder so I can cut into it. You can cut it with a knife or you could even use some circle or any shape cutters that you want. Maybe I'm gonna use a tiny one just for a few and the rest I'm gonna do rectangular. So let's wait, let it sit and come back to it. I popped it in the fridge for 15 minutes and now it's in a good position to be cut and shaped. So let me first move it to the center and probably, wait, no. You know what? Ha! There you go. If you've seen me cut things before, you know that I'm terrible at exactly dividing stuff, so just be prepared. And now I'm just gonna put them in the freezer once more, just for them to finish set. And here you have them. Definitely give them time to set either in your fridge or in your table. If you haven't had amaranth before, please have it this way because there is no more classic way to have amaranth than in an alegría. And trust me, you'll be jumping of joy too. If you're curious about other ways to consume amaranth, please watch my video on calaveritas because mixing amaranth with chocolate is glorious. And if you make this many, eat them soon. The fresher the better. The longer it goes by, they might become hard, but that's why I always suggest you to share them with your friends. Just like this video, please like, subscribe, and be notified. And for more, follow me on the socials. Adios, amigues.